Just want to make sure. Okay. I'm Katie Woody. I am a Director of Advancement for the UMKC Alumni Association. Thank you all for joining us this week for our very first Alumni Career Services Week. So this is exciting. I'm going to go through a few things on our alumni website that will help you guys as you learn about different things available to you. So just bear with me while I share my screen. So on the alumni website, which is umkcalumni.com, there's just a couple things I want to point out to you. So those of you who are unable to attend yoga this week or attend and love it and want to join it again, under Connect, we have a new wellness page where we are sharing the recordings of all of those sessions. So you'll be able to find them here. We also have a few other resources wellness-wise that you guys can utilize. And then for career resources, so under our benefits and services tab, there is a career resources page. So if you guys visit there, you'll see that we link out. We have some tips during the coronavirus pandemic, links for Handshake, the career services links. But if you go here, you can update your professional profile. And this will be important if you guys are interested in mentorship and other volunteer opportunities like speaking on panels. So when you visit this, it will give you an opportunity to update all your information, and then you'll just click yes if you're interested in seeing volunteer positions. And then that'll give you a few options, and there's also a space if there's an option that you don't see that you think would be great and you want to participate in, you can share kind of what you're interested in that's not on that page. So please, again, if you're interested in volunteer opportunities like mentorship and speaking to students, be sure to fill this out and update this, and just make sure you select yes for volunteer opportunities. There are some things that you're going to learn about today and throughout the week that you will need a UMKC email address to be able to access. If you don't have your UMKC email address anymore, you can submit and request one. Again, it's under benefits and services, and you'll go to RU email, and then there's information here about how to request a UMKC email address. And then once you have that, you'll be able to access Handshake and all those different opportunities. And then just one more thing I want to point out before I turn it over to Daniel. If you ever need a copy of your transcript for anything, you can also find information about requesting transcripts here under benefits and services. So again, if you go to that transcripts links, it tells you how to request your official transcript and unofficial transcripts. So thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Daniel Folk, who is a career counselor with UMKC Career Services. So thank you.
Hello. I'm going to wave just so I can get some wave backs. Good. I almost yelled out good morning, everyone, but we're just after that. So good afternoon. I am going to talk a little bit about, well, a lot of it about what we do in career services, the services that we offer. So if you want to use them for yourself, or you still work with students or other alumni from UMKC, the fantastic thing about career services here at UMKC is we serve current students, but we also serve alumni from now until forever. You went to UMKC, so we're here for you. So please feel free to utilize our services, any of the services that we offer. Let me go ahead and share my screen, because one of the most important things, and I'm actually going to say the most important thing that we can offer, is going to be Handshake. I'm utilizing two screens, so if I look away, I promise I'm actually looking at your faces over here and my screen over here as I navigate. Okay, so Handshake is our platform that, well, it's not ours. We and about 300 other universities all across the country utilize Handshake, and it is a fantastic resource for both current students and alumni. I want to give it a little plug, as in we implemented it in summer of 2018, and at that point it had about 250,000 employers in it all across the country. Within 6 months it shot up over 300,000, and I actually don't have a current number on it because it just continues to grow as more universities, as more employer relations teams get in there and recruit employers. So it is the best resource for alumni and current students. And the reason for that is all of those employers are in there for one reason. They want to recruit. So they're looking for students, they're looking for recent graduates, they're looking for alumni to be able to fill their positions, and they know where to find the candidates. They know where to find the best talent, and that's through universities and through University Career Center. So that is why we use it, but I'm going to cover about 4 different reasons today. So to start out, I just shared my screen. This is what Handshake looks like. And I'm going to kind of cover what we do in career services as it relates to, as we go through Handshake. So I'm going to start off with jobs, because what's the most relevant thing right now, especially looking for a career changing, career development, further development within the career that you're in already. And that's going to be jobs. Handshake is great in that it has everything from entry-level positions, internships, part-time jobs, to full-time positions, senior management, very high-order positions. So it kind of runs that full scale. And for example, I was working with the pharmacy department recently, and there are full-time pharmacists, there's pharmacy interns, there's volunteer position, or things that I saw in here that were seemed like volunteer or externships, very short term. And it's running the entire scale of that career. So highly recommended to use. I should take one step back, because everyone needs to be in Handshake, right? So I jump ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I get excited. So Katie mentioned that that through their website, you can request your UMKC email if you do not have it anymore. So by having a UMKC email, you can get full access to Handshake. It's umkc.joinhandshake.com. I'll say that one more time, umkc.joinhandshake.com. And what you can do, and you can see that right up here at the top of my screen. Once you get there, all you're going to do is request an account and fill out the information, but use that UMKC email. And I will get in there and I'll get that approved, and you'll get a confirmation of that. So that way you confirm your account in that email, and then you get full access to it. Highly recommended to fill out that profile. I'll jump over to that profile real quick just so you can see it. And if you're familiar with LinkedIn, you're going to recognize that this looks very similar to LinkedIn. So it's going to have your kind of little intro here. You have the option of adding a picture. You can tell a little bit of that about me section, and then jump into education, work, volunteer, all of those fun things. And if you dreaded filling out your LinkedIn profile, good news, you don't have to do all of that again. What you can do from a Handshake perspective is go ahead and upload a resume once you get in. Once you have that resume uploaded, you can actually pull information, or Handshake will pull information from your resume with your permission, and it'll populate certain things. I haven't actually updated my profile yet, because I wanted to show what that looks like if it goes a little bit wrong, because it's a great resource, but it's not always 100% perfect. So this work experience, I'm a career counselor at the University of Missouri, Kansas City. All it pulled was University of Missouri. So I need to go back in there and edit that a little bit. But you'll see in all of these that there's this little approve button. So that's it waiting on me to make sure that there aren't any edits, that nothing needs to happen in there prior to it going public on my profile. And another great thing about filling out this profile is that once it is complete and it looks the way you want to be represented as a professional, then you can actually make that public to employers. So the employers on Handshake, and I mentioned there's well over 300,000 employers all across the country. You can make that profile public to them, so then they can do searches based on your skills, based on experiences, based on different universities that they want to recruit from. And ultimately, it'd be great just to get a message in Handshake saying, hey, we would love for you to check out this position. I never rely on that solely for job searching because it may not yield everything you've ever wanted. So have an active job search, but also it's going to be great if someone contacts you. There's also an advanced interest area. I should mention that Aaron is going to be monitoring the chat feature for me because I can't talk and think separately at the same time. I'm terrible at it. So if there are any burning questions for me, Aaron will let me know, and I will definitely be happy to answer those as we go. But if we come back into here and we go to career interests, this is a little bit more in-depth thing than we normally go over, but I think it's essential for really utilizing Handshake to the best of its ability. But it goes into what are you looking for? So full-time jobs. How can we help? Considerations, but then we can go into what roles, what functions, what industries interest you, and you can just continue to fill that out and go very deep into what you're interested in, and then ultimately save my interests. You can let them know when you're graduated, so that way you're an alumni. I think the best thing about knowing that you're an alumni is that you're ready to be hired right now, that I don't have to wait for you to graduate. So please feel free to fill this out. And then whenever it comes down to career fair season, which is right around the corner, that's going to be starting in early September, then employers can actually see this information of what you're interested in, what industries you want to be in, and actually reach out to current students and alumni to meet, to talk during this career fair, as long as that profile is public to employers. So that was actually a fifth thing that I wasn't even going to mention, but just realized that that interest area is just as important within that profile, just showcasing what industries you want to be into. Okay.
Daniel, there is a question on the chat.
Yeah.
It says, what's the main difference between Handshake and LinkedIn?
The main difference. Okay, I love this question because I get it a lot from students. So I would say the main difference is there's not as much of a connection piece as there is in LinkedIn. You're not connecting with kind of professionals all around the area, but the job function is also a little bit different as well. So every employer that is posting a job within Handshake is intentionally in Handshake. That's the way I like to think of it. Whenever comparing it to Indeed, Glassdoor, Monster, there's a lot of job search engines out there that actually harvest data. They pull data from all kinds of areas and put it all in one place. So I've heard from students, I've heard from professional job seeker, all kinds of things, that I've applied to this job 3 times, but every time they say, well, it's no longer available. Or I've applied to 3 different jobs and they said it's no longer available. Within Handshake, everyone that's in here is an intentionally current or hiring. Any job that you see are currently hiring that student. So there's a level of intentionality to it that I think Handshake has and a lot of other job search engines and sometimes even LinkedIn doesn't have, because they don't always have to take it down wherever they fill it. I think a lot of times, and Aaron, you can correct me on this if you want to chime in, but the level of employers contacting back is higher. I've heard that from students. If, let's say, you get the position or they are considering you, or even if you don't get it, they're contacting the students a little bit more often. And Tess, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll jump in on that too. And yes, Daniel, I think you're right. When you go in, and don't get me wrong, LinkedIn has a phenomenal job board. It's also highly optimized and very popular. So when you're applying to a position there, you're competing with a very large population. Whereas if you're going to Handshake, every one of those companies that post a job in Handshake and you can see the position, they have said that they're open to hiring UMKC graduates. So your pool's a little bit smaller. They're usually familiar with what UMKC is. They're looking for our students or our graduates and our alumni. So your competition's just a smaller pool. So chances are you'll hear back more readily from some of the employers on Handshake. But outside of jobs, Handshake is also just, and I know Daniel's going to go through it, it's a resource of a whole bunch of tools that we've already purchased and offered subscriptions to that you as alumni could access. And obviously it's a way to schedule appointments for us too. And I know Daniel's going to cover all that. So.
We do have one more question too. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, I was just going to add one thing to Tess's. By that candidate pool being a lot smaller, also identifying where you found that job can be very beneficial too. So by putting that I saw on Handshake, because they're in Handshake intentionally, they're putting extra effort into it. If you're showing that paid off, it helps a lot too. It helps that employer out too, and UMKC.
So does the Career Services Office follow up with employers posting jobs on Handshake for results and to filter out positions already filled? That's the question in the chat.
Daniel, do you want me to take this?
Yeah, you go for it, Erin.
Please do.
I'm Erin Christensen. I work on the employer relations side of Career Services at UMKC. So while Daniel works on the student side of things, especially within Handshake, I do more of the employer relationships. And to answer the question, yes, employers are pretty good about setting specific filters as well as expiration dates for positions. But we try to keep it as cleaned up as possible. I think, did I understand that question correctly? Or, I don't know, Tess or Daniel, did you interpret that differently?
We do also follow up periodically with employers, especially the employers that we work with a lot, and say, hey, did you hire? How many people did you hire? Did you have good luck? Did you get a lot of good candidates? Just as part of our employer relations building with them, wanting to make sure that, that we're doing a good job of marketing their opportunities to our students and alumni, that we're preparing our students properly so that they're good candidates when they apply. We take that information, because they'll tell us, we saw some people, but, they didn't have this on their resume. And then that's something that Daniel can go and take to the individuals that he's working with and say, hey, if you're applying for a position with Cerner or Garmin or Hallmark, this is the type of thing that they've actually told us that they like to see on a resume. So we do follow up to get feedback and additional data. But within Handshake, as Erin was saying, there's systems that sort of age out the old position, so it should be pretty current most of the time. Every once in a while, something will slip through. But.
And I think answering that question let me know where I failed miserably. I forgot to tell you what I do. So within the UMKC Career Services, I am a career counselor. So I primarily meet one-on-one with students, one-on-one virtually with students, and do a lot of classroom presentations, bringing the information that Erin gets from employers and provides it to the career coaching team and providing that directly to students and alumni, just so it gives them the best chance possible. What are the industry expectations of how you present yourself in written documents, so your resumes, cover letters, whatever that needs to be there or provided for that job. So thank you, Erin, for jumping in on the employer side of things.
No
Highly
problem.
appreciated. Okay, so and referring back to jobs, so if you've done job searches recently, this is going to look really similar, as in you can use filtering options, you can use key terms, knock it down by part-time, full-time, by location. It's a really easily managed job search, and I appreciate that immensely with Handshake. And just looking at some of the filters, it actually automatically recommends some filtering options based on what your major was, what some of your career interests are, and even location. And it automatically does that just to start out, but then you can customize all of it along the way. You can also save positions. You can see applications. So my memory works most of the time, but I might run across a job that I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And then I'll try to apply and realize that I've already done that. It saves your application, so that way you can go back and follow or make sure that you're not applying to the same position 3 times, especially if it's an external application from Handshake. So there's 2 ways of applying. Sometimes you can apply just straight through Handshake. If you have a resume uploaded, a cover letter uploaded, it'll attach those and send it straight to that employer. Other times it actually takes you to that employer's website and you would apply that way. You can also follow employers that are within Handshake, so that way you can keep up with them, and it'll also alert you when they post positions. So that way you can kind of stay at the forefront of that. Anything else on jobs, Tess or Erin? You're just both in here, so I figured that was convenient.
I don't think so. I do want to, we had a question come through, and I'm working with them individually. This alum graduated in 2018, but Handshake is still saying that she's a current student. And if that happens, usually Handshake is pretty good about, it imports those student records. And so that automatic import should be updating school years and majors. But if that isn't happening, you can edit your profile to reflect if you had already graduated, or to change your graduation year as well, or major. If you need to, if you're having a hard time with that, just let us know. So, we can edit that for you as well. So I'm happy to go in and for this individual and change their, change that graduation or that status. It says that they had graduated in 2018, but for some reason pulling that they're still a senior. So, so I'll go ahead and change that. But if you are finding it difficult to update your profile, let us know and we can help make those changes.
And one addition to that, if it's a single sign-on consideration, so if it's still showing that you're a current student and it's making you go through the single sign-on process, and it's a concern that that's going to go away and you just don't know when, you can actually speed up that process. And I have a list of resources that if you want to contact me after, I can provide that. I just haven't gotten a chance to go through them yet because I just talked to Handshake, or Handshake provided it to me last week. But it definitely involves signing in as an alum, which is using your email, which is right below signing in as a current student. And once you do that, I'll have you reset your password. And once that's complete, you'll just go through that process each time, and it takes you out of that single sign-on step. Okay, so in my process, out of the 4, 2 is events. The next important thing that you should be using Handshake for. So Handshake will let you know, or within Handshake, we have all of our events within Handshake. So if it's workshops, if it is career fairs, informational information sessions with employers, all of that is going to be housed within Handshake. So you're going to be able to go there and kind of filter through them and see what you want to see. And Handshake changed on me. There it is. Okay. Since the last time I saw this from this side. If you go to career fair, you can actually see all the fairs that we will have coming up here pretty soon whenever they go live. So I believe at this point we have 7 career fairs on the schedules right now. And we haven't even got the semester started yet. And that doesn't include all the workshops, but you can narrow it down by week, by month, virtual. So all of our career fairs this year are going to be virtual. And the fantastic part about that is that you don't have to have another account in another system. So Handshake developed or partnered with another organization and developed their own career fair platform that it's the best of what employers were looking for. So they are able to do video, which is really important to employers. They didn't want to do everything through chat. I heard from a few employers that tried that and they said they would never attend another one. So that was one of the important things when Handshake was developing this, that it was video. Each employer can have up to 15 representatives. So there's going to be someone that you can talk to if you want to talk to a representative from that company. And then they're each going to have a schedule. And those schedules are actually 11-minute sections. So at a career fair, if you've attended one in the past, you get maybe 2 to 5 minutes, probably at the most. 5 minutes is probably pushing it a little if it's a busy career fair. This gives you an 11-minute time slot to actually be able to provide a lot of really good information, have a great conversation, gain a lot of information from that employer on their expectations, what the role looks like that you would be applying for. So you get a lot more opportunity to have that conversation. Within that career fair, there's also the opportunity for employers to do information sessions. So those would be 30 minutes long. Maybe you just want to learn more about what this company does. That would give you that opportunity to be able to attend that and then have a meeting with them or meet with them first. And it's kind of whatever order you want to go in. Additions?
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah.
Do you want to chat about support for international students and alumni?
Yeah, for sure. So we're getting to the point where I'm going to be talking about appointments, but also all of our services is open to both domestic students and international students and alumni. So really everything that we're talking about. In addition to, I work fairly closely with the International Office of ISAO. Okay, ISAO. You know what that is. Words are hard today. But in thinking about what visa requirements are, how to make those considerations, I'm never going to claim that I have all the legal understanding of the different visa types, what are the requirements of that, but I do know who does. So I refer to the experts and we make sure that we get that best information to our international students when talking with them and also when talking with employers too, identifying if they have interest in hiring international students, if they have questions about it, trying to fill all those gaps for them to make it as easy as possible in that hiring process. Because we both have employers that do hire, that we know do hire international students, and also some that say they do not. So being able to help students navigate that, so that way I want your job search process to be as productive and efficient as possible. So if you're applying to a position that I know that they don't hire international students. I don't want you to have to waste your time in that application process, because that's a lot of time and a lot of effort. And something that we talk about in employments, because tailoring your application to each job is essential. If they're getting the same resume that 50 other companies just got, you're decreasing your odds by a lot, because it's not special for them, or you're not tailoring that information, showcasing why you are the best candidate for this position. So that's why I mentioned it takes a lot of time and effort to fill out a good application. So that's why I definitely want it to be as directed as possible, as efficient as possible, and to employers that are hiring. I hope that covered at least the top part of that, but really to know that all of our services are for all of our students and alumni. So I'm actually going to jump into resources real quick, and I think this is awesome. Tess mentioned it, that we get a lot of we pay for a lot of resources for our students, and you can access them. It's free for you. So utilize them. One of the first ones, well, and some that we've been working on recently, is things to consider during a pandemic. Who is hiring? Where can I find online or virtual employment? These resources are going to be, please go through them. What should I be doing while we're locked down, or while I'm out of work right now, to make that time valuable? Because we've talked about it as an office. What we think is going to be a really popular interview question coming up is, what did you do during the COVID lockdown? Like, how did you make yourself a better candidate? Okay. So Aaron brought up the question of specific resources for international students. We're in the works of implementing or getting another one, but one that we've had for quite some time is Going Global. So one of the things that I like about Going Global is it actually has on here what companies have applied for sponsorship. And you can actually look at each one of those companies. So that's one of those ways to not waste an application. You can see, okay, this company has applied for 6 sponsorships every year for the past 5 years. I'm going to try that company, especially if they have a position that you're interested in. Vault is, I think, hands down my favorite resource for finding career relevant information. There's a lot of things out there that are taken from Bureau of Labor Statistics that are just general information about a career path, or a large perspective of a career path, but not that nitty gritty. What does a day in the life of an accountant look like? Or even each specialty area of accounting. So Vault actually has information from industry professionals. It has how to get into it, the history of the job, what are some certifications. It has graduate school information, and it has a lot of this in what they call career guides, and that's what they're really known for, is their career guides. And these are guides that can be upwards of 120 pages, but there's a really good table of contents that you can narrow it down to that specific area that you want to look into, that you want more information about, so that way you don't have to navigate all 120 pages. They also have videos. So it's Q&A videos from professionals in the area, and even that, or in that field, and even that has a table of content. So if your attention span is as short as mine, 1 to 3 minutes, 1 to 5 minutes sounds great, versus a 12 to 15 minute long full video. So I like to jump around within there. I'm definitely going to plug Big Interview. in a virtual world when interviewing may all be virtual, Big Interview is fantastic. It's a great resource to practice interviewing and to be able to see what my face does during an interview, or what words do I repeat over and over? Do I say every other word, or like every other word? You can then go back and review that. You can send it to colleagues, your full interview to colleagues if you want, but you can build an interview. You can build a list of questions, and it has pre-recorded questions so you can see someone asking and then record yourself answering that. So ultimately, it lets you know where you are in your interviewing ability, and then gives you, it's an easy way to contact me and say, hey, I'm struggling with this area. Could we talk about that? Could we go through a mock interview? And I'm going to say, yes, please, definitely come in. I would love to talk to you, and we can go through all of that. We have some job search options on here, ones that are recommended to use, really good ones. So Glassdoor, I like to use it not only because it's a great job search, but also then to do company specific information, or find company specific information. So I call it cheating in the best way because it's public information, but some of these companies have been reviewed by previous employees, and they'll actually go in and post what interview questions were they asked. How much were they making in that position when they were in it? So now, instead of getting that dreaded, well, how much money would you like to be making? And just sitting there blank face because you weren't prepared for it or you weren't thinking about it, this is a way that you can go in and say, well, I saw that this position and comparable positions range from this, and I feel like with my experience, I should be right in here. And you can give them a number and be confident in that number. So that's one of the reasons I absolutely love Glassdoor. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about in the resource section, because I think at this point, this is one of the most important aspects or resources that we have in here whenever it comes time to send in that application. I mentioned just a little bit ago that we need to tailor our application to a position. At this point, it's a have to, but now it's a have to for a whole nother reason, and that's because of applicant tracking systems, or ATS. And what that is HR at companies or third-party recruiters, they have applicant tracking systems, and whenever you submit your application, you submit your resume and your cover letter, what that does is it pulls all of the wording, all of that content out of it and compares it to the specific thing that they were looking for in that job. And it'll give you a percentage match. And they're usually looking for about an 80% cutoff, maybe a little bit higher if it's a more specialized job, maybe a little bit lower if it's a more general job. But if you don't meet that criteria, you don't even get looked at by a person. There's an article that Tess absolutely loves, and we push it in every presentation that we do. But it says that somewhere around 75% of applications never get read by a human because they're not tailoring that resume to that job, and it's not showcasing that I'm the best fit for this. And the great thing about JobScan is, well, and thinking about where they hide all of those key terms that they're looking for, I jokingly say that because they don't hide them at all. They put them right there in that job description for you. They're showcasing what they're looking for in a candidate, so use those. So what JobScan does, and with utilizing your UMKC email when applying or creating a JobScan account, is you get the full premium account. You can make live edits within there. You take your resume and you paste it into one box. You take the job description, you paste it into another box, and it'll give you that percentage. It'll tell you how qualified you are showcasing that you are for this position. And it'll even give you hints on what words to add. So then you can actually just go in and live edit and say, oh, I did that here, and plug that in and see how much your percentage jumps up. I like to think I'm pretty good at my job in developing resumes, showcasing talent, all kinds of things. So when we first got it, I put my resume in there. And I put a career counselor position at Tulane University because I was like, well, that'd be a fun place to live. 13% match. It was terrible. It was just terrible. And I realized it was a career counseling position. I didn't even use the word career counselor in my entire resume because that's not my official HR title. I'm a coordinator. So going back in and seeing where I was missing information too was illuminating. So I highly recommend using JobScan, and it's going to be a great resource, especially in a very competitive market as we're in right now.
Hey,
Tess or
Daniel.
Aaron, yeah.
Or Tess, someone asked if we could speak to ageism and if we really think that that's a thing, and probably, I mean, if you also want to provide some guidance on how to approach that, that would be helpful.
Ageism is alive and well and 100% a thing. And I say this as a 50-something-year-old woman. It's a thing. Come in and talk to us. You know, you can't discriminate against age, but it's also, they can always say, you know, you're just not the fit we were looking for. But we can give you all sorts of tips on how to make sure that you're not being sort of cut out of the process too early. Things that you should and shouldn't include on a resume. You know, probably you don't want to go back more than 10, 15 years on your resume. You wouldn't want to include the years that you graduated from college if that's going to date you. You know, obviously everything, you want to get to the point where you have face-to-face interviews so that you can show them that you're staying current, that you're actively involved in your career, that you're still a great candidate. But you don't want to be just sort of cut out of the process because they see on your resume, oh, you're in your 50s. And so you get discriminated against before you even have a chance. So, but come in and talk to us if you have any questions, if you've been having any problems, and we can help you work through it.
For sure. And that the only thing that I have to add to that is that was one end of the age consideration and being too young for a position. If you're a recent graduate and looking for a management role, that can be a struggle too. So both ends of that age consideration can be a challenge, and we would love to talk about either side of that, how to represent yourself without those considerations being taken into account.
Hey, you know, so here's, somebody actually made the comment that Zoom interviews don't do a person justice. Yes and no, but you know, actually, so I've been, since my world is on Zoom and I'm in my 50s, there's all sorts of tips out there to kind of look a little bit better, a little brighter. And again, love to share some of the resources that I've found. This is something I've been doing tons and tons of research on because it is something that's so near and dear to my own heart. So I hope you, some of the people who are commenting on this, reach out to me afterwards because I'd love to share some of the resources that I've found to kind of help you navigate the whole Zoom process and come out really positively.
And highly relevant right now because everything's going to be on Zoom or some sort of virtual platform for a while, especially those first round interviews. I don't think they're going to take a risk on, let's bring you in 3 times. That first round is probably going to be over Zoom. So definitely something to be conscientious of right now and moving forward. Okay, so the last Oh, sorry, Tess, Aaron, anything else on resources that I missed or didn't hit on enough?
Daniel, I may have missed it, but have you talked about how students or an alumni can schedule an appointment?
That is next.
Okay, perfect. There are some questions coming in that I think are specific, like individual specific. So I don't want to get too into the weeds with their own situation, but I would love to talk to them about how to schedule appointments moving forward so we can talk more in depth about their own situation.
Yeah, that's fantastic and the perfect lead in. Thank you for
Yeah.
creating an appointment. So again, we're on Handshake. So what you'll do is you'll go back up to Career Center, and right here is appointment. So it's that middle of the page, farthest left, create an appointment, schedule an appointment. And so if you are a business alum, so from the block school, then you're going to select Block Career Center. For everyone else, you're going to select UMKC Career Services. And you're going to be able to see all of the services that we offer, all the kind of obvious appointment types. However, your consideration might not fit nicely within one of these. That is completely fine. Just pick one and then leave me a note. I think that's the most helpful because resume reviews don't always turn out to be resume reviews. We may end up focusing on a lot of other things and then resume in the future, but pick one that seems closest to what you're interested in and we will move forward from there. So if I selected internship and job search, it's actually going to give you all of Tess, mine, and Allison's availability. So that way you can pick a day and time that works great for you. If something doesn't, if you can't find anything on here that works for you, feel free to email me, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for Tess and Allison too, that we will do our absolute best. We'll find a time that we can meet with you and we can talk. But we've done some work recently to get some earlier appointments and also some later appointments. I know I'm on here until I think 6 o'clock a couple of nights of the week. So that way it can be after the general 8 to 5 if you're working full-time currently. And then just select a time. So I'm going to select this one. This will be really weird. So my student account is trying to make an appointment with me. That would be an interesting appointment. You know, I'm pretty sure I could talk the whole time though, just saying. So then it is what type of appointment. So we are, as I mentioned, we are completely virtual right now. So we have phone calls, we have video chats, and if we've already talked about your resume a couple of times, we can do like email chats. You can send me your resume. I can make a few edits or a few comments and send it right back. And we can go back and forth pretty quickly in kind of making some of those fine tuning resume edits or some quick conversations. But for the most part, we're using this phone call and video call options. So just select one of those, leave me a detailed message, and that'll kind of help me get the ball rolling as we're having these conversations. Maybe I need to do some pre-research, and I'm happy to do that. If you want to do a mock interview because you have an interview coming up, let me know who that company is, what the position is, and I'll find industry-specific questions and sometimes even company-specific questions to be able to give you that most realistic mock interview process. So that way you can go into that interview more confident. Okay, that's Handshake in a nutshell. That's creating an appointment. That's kind of the 4 key uses of it. Please, I was hoping to have some time for questions, so please ask.
Hey, Daniel, I wanted to point out that, and I don't remember you mentioning this, but there are 2 career centers on campus. So Daniel works for UMKC Career Services. I actually work for the Block Career Center. So if you are a Block alumni, when you're making appointments, and if you make a mistake with this, we communicate with between both offices. regularly, so we can, you know, pass the appointment onto the other office. But when you're making an appointment, you can select UMKC Career Services or Block Career Center. So just keep that in mind when you're making an appointment if you are a Block alum, because there is a specific career center that services both students and alumni.
Exactly.
I want to quickly note, since we have alumni that are outside Central Time Zone, that the times when you're requesting it, please do note that these are Central Time Zone times. So if you are on either coast or mountain time, to keep that in mind when you're scheduling.
And I'm just going to jump in also. Sorry, I should put my video on. If you go into Handshake and you can't find a time that's available when you need, again, just drop us an email. We always make exceptions. We can open things up. We can meet a little bit later, a little bit earlier. So don't feel you're 100% limited. This is the easiest way to make an appointment through Handshake, but we can make appointments outside of that.
Someone asked, how do we get to appointments? I'm not sure if they meant either through Handshake, and Daniel can do a quick walkthrough of that again, but also if you're talking about physically getting to the appointment, right now, all of our appointments, and I think in the near future, also, we're doing all of our appointments virtually. And so you have the option of doing those either by phone or Zoom. And if you're doing it by phone, just provide your phone number. But if you're doing it by Zoom, whoever you're making your appointment with will send you a Zoom link for you, so you can attend that appointment virtually.
So just as a quick one more time run through, so if you're on your main page of Handshake, select Career Center, select Appointments, schedule an appointment, and pick the Career Center, and then just follow the steps, and it'll lead you right down the path of making an appointment, of scheduling an appointment with us.
And once we're back meeting with students in person, the address and location and all of that will be indicated with your appointment confirmation. So the Block Career Center is located in Block Executive Hall, and UMKC Career Services is located in the Atterbury Student Success Center. But for the near future, at least, everything will be operating virtually.
Are there any other questions?
I don't see any other questions in the chat feature. So thank you, Daniel and Katie, so much for putting this together, and Tess for chiming in and everyone else for chiming in with their feedback and experiences as well. We hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, as we've mentioned, feel free to email, shoot us an email or schedule an appointment, and we can go from there.
Just going to make a quick plug for my session tomorrow. We're going to be talking about, if you've been laid off recently, what now? What's the best practices for getting back to employment as quickly as possible? So I hope you'll join that if you need it.
Yeah, we have some really interesting sessions this week. Wednesday is a yoga session. Katie can talk a little bit more about that. Thursday is navigating your career in a virtual space, so leveraging yourself for a promotion possibly, or switching companies or industries. And then Friday, myself and another career coach are going to be talking about how you can stay involved with our office as an alumni, or giving back in that capacity. So mentorship opportunities, helping out with mock interviews, being an employee referral for your own company, all of those sorts of things. And every session is at noon Central Time. So,
So if you already registered and you didn't select a session that sounds interesting to you, you are able to edit your registration and just select those sessions if you hadn't already registered for them. Or you can send me an email. My email is on the website where you registered. So shoot me an email and I'll make sure you get those links for the sessions going forward. Yoga is a separate registration. So if you are interested, you will need to click on the yoga class. It's a 6-session series. So you're kind of jumping in at session 3, but you can access the first 2, and we will be recording the 3rd one so that you will be able to, if you aren't able to attend that, you can always go back and attend those sessions. So thank you guys all again.
Great, thank you.